Hey everyone, and welcome to USA Newsline. You know, every now and then, a real underdog story comes along that just completely changes the game. I'm not just talking about winning, I mean, totally rewriting the rules. Well, today, we're diving into a story just like that from the world of video games, all about a small team with a massive, massive dream. So, here's what we're going to get into. We're unpacking the incredible story of a game called Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which kind of came out of nowhere to make history. We'll look at how it just shattered records at the industry's biggest award show. Then we'll meet the tiny team from all over the world that built it. After that, we'll dive into its super innovative and, yeah, controversial gameplay and the huge debate it kicked off for players everywhere. All right, so our story really kicks off at the moment that put this game on everyone's radar, the Game Awards. Now, if you don't follow gaming, just think of it like the Oscars, It's the biggest night of the year, and everyone, I mean everyone, was expecting the usual multi-million-dollar blockbuster games to just sweep all the categories. But, that is not what happened. Not at all. Yeah, you're seeing that right. 9. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 walked away with a staggering 9 awards. And look, that's not just a big win, that is practically unheard of, especially for a brand new game from an independent studio that pretty much nobody had heard of before that night. And we're not talking about small technical awards either. Nope, they took home the absolute biggest prizes of the night. We're talking Game of the Year, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction. It was a complete and total record-breaking sweep. It shattered the previous record of 7 awards, which was held by this huge blockbuster franchise. The entire industry was just stunned. So that leads us to the big question, right? How on earth did a small, unknown team from France pull this off? Well, the story behind the game is just as amazing as the game itself. And honestly, it speaks volumes about where the whole creative world is heading. I mean, the game's success was felt way beyond the gaming world. It was so significant that it got a public shout-out from the French president Emmanuel Macron himself. He called it a shining example of French audacity and a new benchmark for the country's creative power. That's a pretty big deal. The whole thing started with just one person, a guy named Guillaume Broche. He was working at a major game company, but he had this idea he just couldn't shake. So he started building it as a personal project, in his spare time. And eventually, he took that huge leap of faith, left his stable job, and decided to go all in, betting absolutely everything on his vision. So Broche starts his studio, Sandfall Interactive, and he builds his team in this totally modern digital way. Instead of just hiring people locally, he scoured the internet. Get this, the lead composer, a guitar teacher he found on SoundCloud. The art director, found through a portfolio on ArtStation. And the lead writer, they were hired after posting something really compelling on a Reddit forum. For a lot of them, this was their first major project ever, which just proves that incredible talent is literally everywhere. You just have to know where to look. Okay, now let's get into the game's most talked about feature, and definitely its most controversial one, its unique approach to combat. This is the innovation that won them so many awards, but it's also the exact thing that split the game's audience right down the middle. So, to really get why this was such a huge deal, you gotta know about turn-based games. It's this classic style of role-playing game, or RPG, where fighting is kind of like a chess match. You and the enemy take turns. You plan your moves, pick them from a menu, and then watch what happens. It's all about your brain, not so much about quick reflexes. What Expedition 33 did was take that classic, thoughtful formula and just smash it together with a shot of real-time action game adrenaline. So yeah, you still chose your attacks in that turn-based way, but when an enemy attacked you, the whole game changed. You couldn't just sit there and take the hit. You had to physically dodge or parry the attack with split-second timing. And that single change, it just split the player community in two. There was almost no middle ground. People either passionately loved it and called it the future, or they fiercely disliked it, seeing it as a betrayal of what makes these games great. It started this massive debate that's still going on in forums today. So on one side of this whole debate, you have the purists. These are the players who felt that this new reflex-based system really just undermined the whole point of a turn-based game. As one Reddit user, Nast33, put it, the ability to completely block all damage with a good parry made all that deep strategy, like building your team just right or finding clever ability combos, feel kind of pointless. If you could just master the timing, all that careful planning the genre is known for, became way less important. But then, on the other side, you have a ton of players who thought this was a brilliant step forward. A user named Ascended Viking 7 argued that it injected some much-needed life into a genre that can sometimes feel a little, well, slow and passive. Combat wasn't just about picking from menus anymore. It felt, in their words, truly active, keeping you on the edge of your seat the whole time. Some players, like Zakis, felt like, hey, if I want a game that tests my reflexes, there are already plenty of those out there. They're talking about a style of super hard action games called Souls-likes, which are all about dodging and timing. The whole reason they play turn-based games is to get away from that pressure and just focus on strategy. But others, like Haunted Jockstrap88, totally love that for once their personal skill with the controller mattered just as much as the character's stats on the screen. It wasn't just about the numbers anymore, it was about how well you performed in the moment, and they found that to be a huge plus. So, at the end of the day, the debate really boils down to this fundamental question of what you think makes a game fun. Is it the careful, methodical planning of a chess master, or is it that heart-pounding, in-the-moment thrill of high-stakes action? Expedition 33 didn't just ask the question, it basically forced every player to pick a side. But look, no matter where you stand on the whole combat thing, the game's success is just undeniable, and its impact is already sending these ripples across the entire creative world. With over 2 million copies sold, it sent a really powerful message to the whole industry. A small, passionate team with a bold new idea can absolutely compete with, and even beat, the biggest, most established players in the business. But the game's legacy isn't just about sales or awards. It's about its human impact. The studio got tons of messages from other aspiring artists and creators who felt burnt out, saying this story inspired them to start making their own stuff again. And its story, which deals with loss and perseverance, connected so deeply with people that players wrote in to say the game had genuinely helped them process their own real-life grief. And this all leaves us with one final big thought. The story of Expedition 33 brings up a question that goes way beyond just games. It applies to movies, to music, to every creative field. What's more important? Is it better to polish a beloved, classic formula until it's perfect? Or is true innovation only found when you take a massive risk and try to break that formula completely? What do you think? We really want to know, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you found this explainer helpful, please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe to USA Newsline for more just like it. Thanks for watching.